30 projections in 30 days going into the 2024 regular season for the New York Mets as we continue our month-long deep dive into the Mets 40-man roster. Today we're going to go to the starting rotation depth and talk about David Peterson. As a former first-round pick by the Mets back in 2016, David Peterson's major league career has been quite the roller coaster. Following the most consistent season of his career in 2022, Peterson began 2023 posting an abysmal 8.08 earned run average across 39 innings pitched, earning him a demotion to AAA Syracuse. After returning to the major league level in late June, Peterson finished the season with a 5.03 earned run average, a 3.34 fielding independent pitching, striking out 26% of batters across 111 innings pitched. As a big frame bulldog-style southpaw, Peterson has struggled to gain a solid form of consistency throughout 300-plus career innings at the big league level, mainly factoring into his pitch arsenal, which has been minimally refined over the last few years. A low 90s fastball-sinker combo that tops 96, a gyro backdoor slider, side-spinning changeup, and a dropping action curveball. With inconsistent command and below-average control, Peterson has landed himself in the bottom 10% among left-handed pitchers in average exit velocity, hard hit percentage, and home run fly ball rate since his major league debut in 2020. Looking to bounce back again this year, his campaign will most likely have to wait a few months. After undergoing hip surgery over the offseason, Peterson is expected to miss about 3 to 4 months of the regular season as he comes into a 28-year-old season and will be making $2.2 million in 2024 with still team control through 2027.
Yes, I mean, as someone who's been a David Peterson fan, the injury is very unfortunate. Since he's missing a few months in the season, it really, his role, his projection, all depends on, in my opinion, how the team is doing. If the team is doing great and everything's rolling, your starting pitchers are doing good, he's not going to be in the starting rotation. I mean, why would you put someone else in there if what you have is going well already? He might find himself in the minor leagues for the most part if the Mets are performing well. But if the Kodai Senga injury is for real, if the Mets are playing bad, Luis Severino's hurt again, they're trading away Jose Quintana, he's going to end up in the rotation. So I think that because he has the delayed start to the season, what his role is going to be is really going to depend on how the Mets are performing by the time he's ready to come back. For me, I still would like to at least see a full-time run of being in the bullpen as the long man, as like for this team in particular, he has to be like your third lefty and just kind of see how it goes, because as a starting pitcher, as much as I try to root for him, it just hasn't been there. The consistency has not been there. The critique is you cannot be a good starting pitcher with the kind of walk percentage that he has. It makes it very, very difficult. You could only escape jams so many times. So I think that, overall his stuff, everything about him, he profiles more into a reliever, in my opinion. This is not a guy who you see, even if he is having a good start, he's not going 7 innings. He's not going, maybe even 6 innings. So I feel like the best you might get out of him might be out of the bullpen in more of that long relief role. If the Mets end up actually having a 6-man rotation, or maybe they start with a 5-man rotation and then go to 6, depending on Senga and all those things, then maybe you'll see him make a couple of starts here and then. But I think because of the injury, his season, his projection, it's really going to depend on his role. And I think that, there's a lot of different scenarios where his roles can be different. He might be in the minors for a majority of the season. He might be in the bullpen. He might make a couple starts on the big level. Like, there's so many different ways it could go for him. It's hard just to make one projection, say this is what's going to happen with him, because I feel like there's a lot of factors going on with David Peterson.
Like, I think the best way that you can see him is at that last starting pitching piece in the rotation. I just don't really see him going to the bullpen at the current trajectory that, his current arsenal has taken the dip, especially with his slider regressing so much last year. Again, he can always make those adjustments. It can bounce back again. But the problem with David Peterson is that overall, his arsenal is just not flashy enough to be a reliever. He's just not going to get you as much consistency as compared to the rotation or the bullpen. Obviously, it'll bring down the workload. He's been able to get a decent amount of strikeouts throughout but I just don't really see him profiling well as a reliever at this point. I think that opportunity to do that was 2 years ago. And right now, you kind of just have to see him string along a little bit more into the starting rotation, because I just think it profiles a little bit more where, he's facing a bunch of batters and, the ball's getting put in play, if he can induce ground balls or not. Hopefully this hip surgery unlocks a different level of him. But as of right now, we just don't know what the deal is with David Peterson. I understand that he's 28 years old, but he's still young. He's still close to that starting pitcher prime or whatever. But, at this point, we've seen enough of David Peterson to know what he is.
Coming off the surgery, we'll see how much game time it takes him, one, to get wrapped back up, because he's obviously starting behind the 8-ball, recovering from the surgery, and probably going to need an extra month or two just to get back primed, ready to go, and have his kind of extended spring training. So, again, he's one of these guys that hopefully, I think I might make a video before the season that is kind of a make or break and last shot season on this roster, because I'm tired of every single season David Peterson, Tyler McGill, there's your depth. It's been it feels like 9 years. Every year. Who's the depth? Oh, it's McGill and Peterson. And David Stearns, this is his forte, is pitching. So this is the year. We'll see how much he actually does get on the mound. Stearns can find better than both of them. And this is your last shot. I get former first-round pick, all the pedigree. Half the fan base loves him. Half the fan base hates him. He showed he has some starts where he looks okay. He's a quality middle rotation option. And then there's just some where he's getting bombed out of the first inning. So with David Peterson, this is it for me. I've had enough, just like a few guys, where you've had multiple opportunities to one, especially with injuries in the past, to grab and hold a rotation spot, and you're barely hanging on to it. And I know David Stearns, his forte is pitching. He will find better and sign who can be better than David Peterson. So this is his last shot.
All right, so let's get into my projections for David Peterson this year. Now, as a reminder, projections are not predictions. They are benchmarks of the player's current specific percentile outcome based on predictive data and results. For my projections, I decided to go with, in my opinion, each player's 75th percentile outcome. Although a majority of player projections are constructed from the player's 50th percentile outcome, I personally wanted to find a median between sustainability and upside. Now, it also gives you an easy way to identify who I am high on and who I'm low on going into the season. So as for David Peterson, I currently have him at 88.2 innings pitched, striking out 26.1% of batters and walking 13.7% of batters, a 4.26 earned run average, a 4.73 fielding independent pitching, a 1.3 home runs per 9, and a 0.7 wins above replacement. I do want to specify with this projection, I am going based off of, because of best case scenario for David Peterson himself. I'm going off of he comes back from injury and he gets slotted into the rotation. That's the sample I think he's going to give. Do I think he's going to be immediately into the rotation? No, but in the best case scenario for him at this current moment, about 88 innings to 90 innings.
Especially, again, like I've said, he's missing probably the first 2 months of the season to still probably get 88 innings out of him, sure. A 4.2 ERA would be the best. Second, well, I'll throw away 10 and I guess third best mark of his career. I mean, like I said, this is what he is. He's a kind of back end guy who can flirt occasionally with that kind of 3 at best. So again, a 4.2 ERA for a 4.5 type starter, that's solid. Again, do I doubt the innings? Would I probably take the under and say he doesn't even hit 88 innings? I'm hitting that before that. But again, the projections, 28 years old. If that's the best you're getting, and I think that's kind of comparable to what I would think Peterson is, it's fine. But again, like I said, I know Stearns can find better. So it's this is the best you're getting. Is that really that valuable to keep for a former first-round pick?
I don't think he's getting that many innings either. Not only with the injury, but again, I think even with the performance and the kind of team that they've added by adding more arms, I don't see him hitting that amount of innings. And I think the ERA, it's about right, honestly. Like it's around where he's been his entire career so far. It's nothing like totally out of the ordinary. I think for him, it's not enough if he wants to actually get paid like a true starting pitcher by another team to be in their starting rotation. So again, I still don't just see him hitting that amount of innings. But I think everything else. Also, I think that like if you're combining his minor league innings and major league innings, like that's closer. But I think if we're talking about strictly major league innings, I don't think so. Like I don't see him spending even when he's back his entirety in like with the Mets, because I could also see him getting starts in the minor leagues as he's rehabbing before they would even call him up. So even when he is healthy, I still could see him making his starts in the minors to kind of get his legs under him in game action before he even would get called up, depending on how it's going for the season. The Mets, like, oh my gosh, we need another pitcher. We have to call him up now. Whereas if everything's okay, we kind of ease him back in. He'll be making plenty of starts in the minors before he's fully ready to go. Kind of like they did with Quintana this year as he was recovering.
Yeah, a lot of projection systems actually have him higher of what I have, actually, believe it or not. Steamer has him about 88 innings around where I have it. Zips has him at 126, which is very, very weird. I don't know. I think that they have him having about, 7 complete games, maybe? I don't know.
Everyone else on the Mets just not going to pitch when he comes back? Like,
I guess not.
Is this going to be the old days? We're doing 3 days rest? I mean, what's going on here? Unless were they factoring before the injury, maybe? Is that possible or no? Or do they update as time goes on?
It's possible that they did, but I'm pretty sure Fangraphs had it earlier. So it's kind of weird to see that. But as for David Peterson, I think I've already expressed, how I feel about him. I'm done explaining.
You might mention it once or twice.
Andrew did bring this up. David Peterson, former first-round pick. I'm going to ask you this, Frank. What do you think? Is this his last chance? Is this his last chance to be part of this team going forward?
I really think so, because the way I look at it is that, we've talked all offseason long. It's a rebuild year, it's a retool year. How competitive are the Mets really? If the Mets play decent this year, I want to see them actually acquire starting pitchers. And like Andrew said, Stearns is capable of finding much better than David Pearson. He's done it his entire career as an executive. So I want the Mets to actually bring in more arms. Like, I wanted them to get Brandon Woodruff. Like, I wanted them to just get more pieces. And especially this next season where, like, we've talked about Quintana, free agent, Hauser, free agent, Severino, like everybody, Manai, like they're all going to be free agents besides Senga. So I want to see them add other arms. And I just don't see how David Peterson is going to be better than those arms that the Mets are going to be bringing in. So I think for him, this is his last chance. He wants to be part of a team, but I think also this is his last chance if he wants to get like a decent contract of what a normal starting pitcher would get, a guy who's actually in a rotation. This is his last chance to really getting like a decent contract.